gentlemen, jug down. Hi, everybody. Hi, is this on? Hi, is this on? Can you hear me? Hi. So sweet of you. I'm always worried nobody's going to show up to these, so thank you so much for being here.
Well, I think there's definitely enough people here to keep us going for maybe 15 minutes.
Good.
But we'll jump straight in there. So, I've heard you described as the perfect human mannequin. That you're like this actor you can just layer things on top of. I mean, it's kind of a unique role. You see, you are the go-to guy in Hollywood for that role. How did you end up as, I suppose, the guy who always gets made up for aliens and monsters and things like that?
Right. Well, I never set out to be that guy. My initial love and desire was to be a sitcom star. I wanted to be like, well, I mean, look at me. I'm a tall, goofy, skinny white guy, right? So I figured I would be a great goofy next door neighbor or funny office mate or whatever for a sitcom. So that's what I went to Hollywood expecting to be that. The monster creature thing completely blindsided me and hit me. It was a surprise. But having a background as a mime, I know, we hate mimes, but. And you should, but the background is that means that I understand movement and I understand what my body can do. And being 6'4" and 140 pounds. How many is that? What do you go by? Stones here? What do you go by?
Kilos.
Yeah, I don't have any clue. Very few. Okay,
about 10.
Very tall, very skinny, and so that with a small bone structure in my face too, long, skinny neck. I had no idea that was a creature designer's dream to build monsters on this frame. And so with an understanding of movement and with an acting background as well, it's like I guess that's what created the perfect recipe to have the career that I ended up having, that I completely did not expect. I had no idea that I was going to be standing at the Oscars last year with I know. Thank you. I know. With my dear friend, director Guillermo del Toro, who I've done a lot of work with. Bless his heart. Yeah, he now put me in 7 of his projects, and so to celebrate the Best Picture last year with The Shape of Water was just a dream come true. Yeah.
I mean, you said you've done a load of movies with him. Obviously, Hellboy.
We actually met on Mimic back in 1997, and I was just one of his. Did anyone see Mimic?
Yeah.
Mimic. Yeah. Giant cockroaches that take over the subways of New York, which is possible. And I was one of those giant cockroach guys. So, do you boast about that? Probably not. But I was just on that movie for about 3 days, and during which I met Guillermo del Toro. It was his first American feature film with a big budget, and so I didn't know who he was yet. And so my second day of work with him, it was a small green screen stage and a very, very skeleton small crew. So it was more of an intimate setting. He sat right across the table from me at lunchtime. And the first thing he put his tray down and said, "So, tell me everything you've been in before." So I guess I started listing off my resume. Well, I was this and that. And he's like, "Oh, yeah. Oh, I like that monster. Yeah, who did the makeup on that?" So he wanted to know about the makeup artists and who created these things. And I could tell that I was talking to a dyed-in-the-wool fanboy. You know, he's a 12-year-old boy that has refused to grow up. And that's why we love him so much, I think. So he and I connected very, very quickly, and it was great connection. So 5 years later, after he asked for my business card, 5 years later, he's working on Hellboy, the first Hellboy movie, and the creatures, the designer shop was making a maquette, a sculpture of the Abe Sapien character. And they had sculpted this they were bringing the director in for a final approval that day on this design. So in walks Guillermo del Toro, the director of Hellboy, and they unveil this sculpture for him. And rumor has it, and I think it's been confirmed that it was true, he fell to his knees and he looked at this thing and he said, "Oh, you are so beautiful." And then he said, "And I am so fat." Not sure why. I think it's a beautiful, thin creature. Maybe that was it. But so then that's when the creature designers, the sculptor Jose Fernandez and Mike Elizalde, the owner of the shop of Spectral Motion, And the Steve Wang, the designer that actually came up with this concept of comic book to film Abe Sapien, they all had worked with me before. And so my name came out. You know who the perfect guy to play this is? Doug Jones. And that's when Guillermo del Toro said, Doug Jones? I know Doug Jones. And he pulled my card out of his wallet that I gave him 5 years ago, right? So I was like, wow. So I got a call. And that's how Hellboy happened for me. And that really was the movie that cemented our relationship as actor and director. And we understood each other and got our shorthand built up pretty quickly. So then it was after that that he came back around for me for Pan's Labyrinth, which, thank you. Another dream come true. That movie was, to be in such an artistic movie that in our genre, in the genre that we love, but also to go to the Oscars with 6 nominations that year. And can I tell you a story about the Oscars 2007? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not letting you talk.
Oh no, you're here for you, not me.
Okay. My favorite story in all my 33 years of acting was the red carpet at the Oscars 2007. You all know who Joan Rivers was? Yeah. Right, Joan Rivers. She was the red carpet queen. She did all the interviews. She kind of made the red carpet interview what it is today. The "Who are you wearing" thing was all because of her. So I thought, like, if I can just, for decades, I'm thinking, if I can just meet Joan Rivers on a red carpet and be interviewed by her, I will have made it, right? So here I am at the Oscars in 2007. I just talked with Access Hollywood and Extra and Entertainment Tonight, and then all of a sudden my publicist says, Doug, Joan would like to talk to you now. I'm like, it's happening, it's going down. So I have to stand up. Oh, is that good? Okay. Okay. Now they were at a commercial break, so we were not. It wasn't live yet. So Joan, we're just casually talking. I started petting her shoulder because she's wearing this fur. Wow, that's soft. She goes, "Isn't this fabulous?" Yes. Wow. And then she's looking at her card. She was handed a stack of cards from her producer with all the information on it about Pan's Labyrinth, right? So there was a card about me on there and everything. So she's looking at these cards and she's getting herself, caught up before the commercial break is over. And she looks at me and she says, "How do you pronounce that?" And I said, "Oh, that's labyrinth." So she said, "Labyrinth. Ah, did you know that before the movie?" Yeah. A lot of us did. So they're back from the commercial break, and she's live, and she's like, "Oh, we're here with Doug Jones from Pan's Labyrinth." She asked all the right questions. I knew all the right answers because I've been through this, the press machine already for this. Then as I'm answering one of her questions, her eyes glaze over. Because she's got an earpiece in, and she's hearing a producer off in the van, like saying, "Ask him about the makeup." So she comes back like, "You wear a lot of crazy makeups over the years. Have you ever had any problems with allergies or infections or anything like that?" So I said, "Oh, no. Thank heaven. I have not had any problems with any reactions or bad reaction to latex, foam, rubber products, adhesives, or removers, or silicone products." When I said the words silicone products, I'm looking at this face. Stuffed full of it, right? No, the woman was she was a wonder of modern science. Tink, tink, tink. It doesn't move. No, I didn't do that. So I'm saying, I hear silicone products ringing in my head, and so without being able to catch myself in time, I said, "Well, you know what I mean." This was on live television around the world. So thank heaven she's a comedian. She said, "Oh, it's too late for me, honey." Yes, Joan Rivers. I'm an idiot. Okay, I'll sit down now. Thank you for letting me share that story. But to continue the Guillermo del Toro journey, after that, then I was I was filming The Silver Surfer in the meantime too, the Fantastic Four sequel. Thank you. And then during which it was announced they were going to be making a Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, which I was very excited about. So I came back to reprise my role of Abe Sapien in Hellboy 2. And I played 2 other characters for him too. Because now this is Guillermo. I did 2 characters in Pan's Labyrinth, right? The Faun and the Pale Man, which you saw in that video. And then in Hellboy 2, he said, I've got 3 characters for you this time. I'm like, wow. Because Abe Sapien was in much more of Hellboy 2, so when am I going to have a day off to do this? So I worked more days on Hellboy 2 than Ron Perlman did. Because you all saw clips of the Angel of Death, which is a gorgeous character. I was very tickled. And that's when he said, I've got 2 other characters for you to play. One that I wrote just for you, and one that I don't know who else I'm going to get. Thank you. 3 characters for the price of 1, you cheap ass. Thank you. So the 3rd character was the Chamberlain, which you also saw in that clip, the squared off head. Oh, you need to surrender your weapons. So that was that one. And then after Hellboy 2, then he came back around to nab me for Crimson Peak. Anyone see Crimson Peak? That was a gorgeous movie. I love that. Advertised wrong. It was advertised as a horror film, and it was actually a gothic romance. So anyway, but it was beautiful. And I played 2 of the ghost ladies in that movie. Yes, you heard me right. And the other 3 ghost ladies in the movie were played by my tall, skinny friend Javier Botet. Right, 2 tall, skinny guys playing all of the lady ghosts in Guillermo's movie. I think he was looking for a specific look, and so that was great. And then he came back around for me after that, of course, for The Shape of Water. Which was now let me tell. Okay, so we're working on Crimson Peak, and this is January of 2014, so it's a while ago. And on a day, I had a day off. We're filming in Toronto, up in Canada. And on my day off, he actually had his office call me to say, at lunchtime today, Guillermo would like to meet you in his office. I'm like, well, oh gosh, am I in trouble? Am I getting sent to the principal's office, the headmaster? So I get there at lunchtime, and he says, oh, Dougie, come in, shut the door. Oh gosh, I am in trouble. So, he wanted to have a quiet, private conversation about this next movie he wanted to work on called The Shape of Water. And he wanted to, just pitch the idea to me. And I'm like, first, when Guillermo del Toro says, I want you for one of my movies, you just say, yes, right? And then you'll hear the details later, because it's going to be a piece of art that you want to do. But he was concerned. He said, well, I want to check with you ahead of time on this one, because... I said, what could be the problem? Now, can I cuss in here?
Mild cuss.
I'm in Ireland. Of course I can cuss. So, no, Guillermo del Toro, notorious cusser. I call him trilingual. He speaks Spanish, English, and the F word fluently, right? Yeah. So he says to me, when I'm like, well, what could the problem be with this creature? He goes, well, there's a fuck scene. Okay, that's a new one. So I said, what, are they going to go at it doggy style? He said, no, it's in a bathtub. So I said, listen, why don't you let's go back and start at the beginning and work me up to the bathtub, and we'll see how I feel about it. Because he said, I know you're a good Catholic boy, and I want to make sure this is okay with you. Okay, good. He did. So that's when he didn't have a script yet. He just started telling me this story. And story time with Guillermo was like sitting at a campfire and get your s'mores going and get hot dogs, marshmallows, and just listen to Guillermo del Toro tell a story. It was just, so this story unfolds, and it was gorgeous. And by the time, I was like, what? So in a laboratory, and he's going to die, and she saves him and kidnaps him and puts him in her apartment? In the bathtub. Of course. Where else do you hold a fish man in your house, right? Of course, in the bath. And now we don't have a piece of glass between us. We don't have, so there's going to be some loving. Okay. So I got it. So, but it was innocent and beautiful, and of course I'm on board. I'm so glad I did it. It was like the dreamiest movie I'd ever been a part of, to have a love story in a monster suit. I didn't see that coming. Yeah. But
We'll just open the floor up to questions in a minute. But,
Questions, yes. I was also in Star Trek Discovery, by the way. Any Star Trek? Thank you.
I've heard it's popular.
Yes, yeah. Well, seasons 1 and 2. Two's airing right now, right? Mm. And we liking it so far? Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've been on quite a journey as Saru. Quite a journey. Yeah, between going through Vaharai in episode 4 and going back to my home planet in episode 6. For those who haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to spoil it. But yeah, it's been a fun ride, and the writers have been kicking ass, I think. Yeah.
Well, I suppose with Saru, you get to dress the same way everyone else does. I mean, I've heard you got.
I get to wear a Starfleet uniform. Yeah. So this, as monster creature makeups go, this is kind and gentle because it's just a head and hands application for me. Now those hoof boots are a bear to walk in. I'm not going to lie about that.
How tall are you with them on?
All right. Right now I'm 6'3". With those boots on, I'm 6'8". Yeah. So yeah, they add 5 inches to me.
Does it make it difficult going through doors?
Yeah. Oh, I've hit my head so many times. Yeah. And also makes it difficult for our cinematographers to frame me with other characters because it's like I tower over every. You've seen me with Michael Burnham, we're like this. Yeah, so it's hard to frame. But
all right, well we'll throw the floor open to questions.
Yes,
so,
questions, please.
The blue person there.
Hi, blue person.
You have a very unique. Oh, thank you. You have a very unique way of moving in Star Trek Discovery. I was wondering, did you have a thought process behind that, and how do you act under such heavy prosthetics with your face?
Yeah. Well, that is my challenge. My challenge is a couple things. Yes, how to make what I'm feeling in here come out through layers of latex foam rubber or silicone products. And then also when it comes to, I'm 33 years into my career now. Played lots of creatures and monsters and aliens of all kinds. So my other challenge is how do I make this one different from the other ones I've played before, right? Now, Saru is written in a very intelligent way. Of course, he's extremely smart. He's a scientist and is kind of like self-taught and learned 94 languages, and so he's extraordinary. So, but I also wanted him to be very well-mannered. He's the first Kelpian ever to join Starfleet, and so he had something to prove. And that's why I made his mannerisms and his behavior so very gentlemanly. I like to think of him as the butler aboard Starship Discovery. So that's I'm playing like I'm on Downton Abbey, right? It's like, hello, sir. So Saru is very, very gentle and kind and well mannered. Of course, he's got a full array of emotions, as you've seen, that come out in the right time. Whether it's reprimanding little Tilly for being an insolent, silly girl, or whether it's getting angry at my sister figure in Michael Burnham, or the angst and anguish of coming home again after being gone for 18 years when I see my real sister Sarana again. There's all kinds of colors and emotions they've allowed me to play, which I just adore. But the physicality of him, the walk that I came up with. That was the most unique thing about this character that I had never done before, is that, and it was those boots, those hoof boots. So when I first got into my first costume fitting, and I was those are my shoes? Oh, huh? How do you? Can a human being walk in those? So it's up in a high heel position, but without the heel under it, right? So it's just I'm balancing on the balls of my feet. So I had to kind of get that down. Well, the shoes are constructed in a way that you can do it. Lady Gaga wears them apparently on stage, so if she can do it, so can I. But right? Because remember, I'm too sexy. Okay. So when I put those on for the first time, it helped if I put my hips a little bit forward, and then my arms dangled slightly behind my hips, unlike when you stand like a human. It was back here. So I'm walking around the costume area, just kind of going, as I felt this, and my arms, so my arms started naturally swaying from side to side behind me instead of this way. I thought, oh my gosh, I love that. And no one ever told me not to, so that's how it stuck. Yeah. So thank you for asking.
Okay, so if you're interested in asking a question, just raise your hand there.
Hello, it's very nice to hear you speak, by the way.
Thank you.
I suppose my question is a slightly complex one, so I'm going to give a bit of an introduction. I'm a biologist, first off.
Oh dear.
I'm going
to sound really stupid.
No. From the point of view of Star Trek, this series, I've noticed a massive sort of swing towards ecological things, because that's what I'm currently working in. With regards to your particular character, it's very interesting, because first time I've noticed it, you're essentially being a prey animal. Now, if you think of all of the other characters, they're all top of the food chain, top of the predator list. Some are vegetarian, some are eating insects, some of this, that, and the other. But they're all at the very top level of the ecosystem. Whereas your character comes in as basically the bottom. So essentially, sorry to put it in a sort of probably a more relatable method, you're basically a cow that's joined Starfleet.
Right, that's how I...
No, it's like
I have never been called a cow in a panel before. Thank you.
It's a compliment in Ireland.
Probably a more attractive way of putting it is you're a rabbit that's living amongst the foxes.
I like to think of myself as a deer or a fawn.
Yes.
But thank you. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, you're a deer living amongst the lions. You're living with your predators. So is this something you were aware of, or is that playing into it, or how do you feel about that?
When we started the show back doing the pilot episode in season 1, that's exactly how it was explained to me. Sort of like a gazelle, and amongst predators like lions and tigers, and right. So, but my director, our director for that episode, said, "Have you ever watched? If you watch a pack of or a gazelle or something in the wild, they can outsmart the predator. They've learned how to travel in a way and look over their shoulder and confuse the predator on their whereabouts." So he said, so you're not helpless. And you do have a strong kick, which if you saw in episode 8 last year when I had a little fight with Michael Burnham on the planet Pavo, and I donkey kicked her. So Saru's got a good. So, and as the evolution has happened too, this is what's interesting. I didn't know where Saru was going to go. I thought I was a prey species, and that's where I would stay. Had no idea now that evolution has answered some new questions in season 2. This episode 4, when my threat ganglia fell out, and I went through a big transition, and we're learning a lot about what a Kelpian is and how long our lifespan might actually be. We thought it was very short, and now it turns out we could live for hundreds of years. We don't know yet. So that's been really interesting to play into. But I don't know. There are some actors who want to know the entire arc of their story from start to finish right now. So I can, and I was the other way around. I want to learn about it episode by episode like you do, because it's exciting for me to get the next script and go, oh, what's in this one? Woohoo! So I had no idea the journey that Saru would go on. I had no idea that I was going to have this evolution where it turns out that my species may not have always been a prey species. We might have been a predator at one time, and now our prey learned how to control us. That's kind of what we're learning about now. So very exciting times, yeah. And that was I didn't know that until I read that script for that episode in season 2. I was like, what? Wow, that's awesome. Right? Yeah. So thank you for asking. Yeah.
Hi. Sorry, mind if I record this?
I'd like to see your face, though. Like, hi.
For the Insta. But still, you mentioned how hard it was to essentially walk in the hooved chutes, but you had to run and kick on occasion. And so how was that? How many times did you fall is essentially my question.
I did not fall once.
Wow.
I know. Thank you. Yeah. No, I was terrified, and running in those shoes on the planet Pava. We were out in a forest, so very uneven terrain. But I found that in those hoof boots, I'm gonna let you know a little secret about my footwear. When you don't see my feet on camera, I'm wearing what we call my comfort shoes, and those are a flat-footed boot that is at the same height, but it's a big block. So I'm walking on a big, so it adds the 5 inches, but my foot's like this instead of that, right? So I tried to wear those flat-footed comfort boots out in the forest, and my ankles were going twisty all over the place. I actually had a better grounding for myself in the hoof boots, which makes sense because that's what the animals are. The gazelles, they do okay. So I figured, well, maybe I can too. So I was actually able to run much easier than I thought I would be. I've only fallen once in the entire 2 seasons I filmed so far, and that was off camera, walking from the set back to my set chair. I was behind. It was the village, the Kaminar village on my home planet. I was walking behind one of our huts back. It was on a soundstage. Back to my chair. It was dark, and there was a little rise in the floor that I didn't see coming. It was all of a sudden, whoa! And I ended up on the floor with a twisted foot that was swollen for the next 6 weeks. Ooh. Yeah. So hopefully you're not going to notice it in season 2, but I limped through the episodes 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So thanks for asking, though.
Hi, how are you? Hi. You mentioned earlier that you wanted to be in sitcoms originally.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Frakes is here. He's directed both Discovery and Orville.
Yeah.
Now, given your ability to hide behind a character, if given the chance, contracts aside, would appearing in the Orville be something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, I'm glad you said contracts aside, because Star Trek would never let me go on Orville as an alien right now. No, but no, of course, I'm kind of a whore. If they're paying, I'll show up. Thank you. Yes. Anyone?
Can I? Yeah. Hey, nice to meet you again. It's a two-part question. Over all the monsters you played, who's been the hardest make-up to wear, most uncomfortable, and what's it like to work with Luke Goss, who over here has got a bit of a reputation?
Yeah, all right. All right. Oh, okay. Makeups. I get asked this all the time about difficulty and favorites and not favorites, and it's none of them are easy. I will say that right now. That I'm accustomed to wearing heavy makeups, but I don't love them. But just because it feels like it looks. It's hotter than you want. It's heavier than it want. It's stickier than you want. It's and the process of getting it on can take hours, and then wearing it for a 15-hour shooting day is quite cumbersome. But oh gosh, one of the tougher ones. Okay, I got one for you. The worst. It was more of a costume than a makeup, because I figure I consider. A suit is something you slip into and zip up the back. A makeup is something glued onto me or painted onto my person. Okay, so a lot of the characters I play are a combination of both. There's some paint, there's some glue, there's some zip-ups. This was another giant bug character. I've done 2 in my life, yes. This was in a movie called Bug Buster. Have you heard of it? Of course, one person has. Where? No, you saw Bug Buster. Yeah, George Takei's in it. Yes, and oh my goodness, and so is Randy Quaid. Can I tell you my story about this one? Oh, yeah. Okay. No, thank you for. Oh wow. Okay, so heinous costume. I mean, it's a giant bug costume, and it's unlike Mimic. Mimic was sort of a bug that mimicked a human, so I got to wear a humanish looking costume. The Bug Buster was a giant insect with 6 legs. And my front arms had long extensions on them. There were these big 6-foot pinchers, like a bug. And then my head was up here, the head of the bug, and it was on little pulleys that reacted to my head movement. And I was in the neck of the creature here with netting and fur bits coming out of the netting. Like if you've seen a bug in a microscope, they're all furry and hairy. Oh, anyway. So with this, and I had a big stinger coming out of my ass. I couldn't sit in a regular chair. I was like on a bicycle seat with it was just an awful day. Well, I had a big fight scene with Randy Quaid, right? And it was okay. So the concept of the movie: small town is being infested by insects that are killing people. They're like a superbug. And where are they coming from? What are they? We don't know. So they call in, the big guns, which was Randy Quaid, was a general in some branch of the military, a former general, I think. And so he shows up with a beret on and Coke bottle glasses and let's kick some bug ass. What's going on here? Yeah. So it ends up that people are dying off in the town, and he ends up coming out, finding where all the bugs are coming from. It's a little cave just outside of town. So he follows the trail of bugs, and he gets into the cave, and now he finds in deep in the bowels of this cave is the mother bug guarding her pile of eggs. So that's how, and I kind of turn around going, huh? Oh, it was just preposterous. And then it gets weird. As if it wasn't already. Randy Quaid, he's by himself now because I think I've killed off most everybody else with my litter, and he has weapons with him, so he tries to torch me or shoot me with a gun. Bullets have no effect on me. Okay, he throws that down. He pulls out a flamethrower, and I don't burn. Then he throws out a CO2 gun to try to freeze me. I don't freeze. So he throws all of everything down. He goes, all right, man, you and me, mano-y-mano. We're going to have a hand-to-hand fight, right? Randy Quaid and a giant insect. All right, so I mean, this is my life, guys. So I'm in this horrible, and you know, this choreographed fight scene. We're bouncing off the walls of a cave, and it was an actual cave we filmed in, and tumbling on the ground, everything. So it was well choreographed. And I said to Randy ahead of time, you know, I'm in this bug thing going, and Randy, I can't see very well, and my arms have these 6-foot pinchers on them. So careful, please be careful. They're kind of sharp. Doug, it'll be fine, but Doug, buddy, you do what you gotta do. We'll get through this. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So So action, and we get through this whole fight scene. Tug, swing, bounce off a wall, turn on the floor. I end up on top of him on the floor. Cut. Well, I have help getting off of him, and I get back to my little bicycle seat thing, leaning forward, and I said to the little assistant helping me, I said, "Can you go check on Randy? I didn't see him get up." So over here, I hear a voice. Doug, buddy, can you hear me? It's Randy. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. You do what you got to do. We'll go again. I'm fine. I guess he's fine. Well, then a little production assistant, I hear like a 20-year-old kid, I hear this voice going, can I get some ice over here? I can't stop the bleeding.
Does he sit on the chair?
So not only have I insulted Joan Rivers, I also tried to kill Randy Quaid. But he lived through it. I gashed his forearms, both of them. It looked like he tried to commit suicide. Like, come on. So they bandaged him up, and he went back in for take 2. He was a trooper. I'll give him that. So anyway, that was the okay. Yes, there was that. And Luke Goss, great guy actually, a sweetheart of a fella. He was, he's part of that team Bros, right? Yeah, which was in the U.S. They were not quite the phenomenon they are over on this side of the world, but he was actually quite lovely, very intense. I worked with a lot of intense actors in my life. Luke was one of them.
That's all we'll have time for. Doug, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you.